And welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. The plaintiff hired the defendant to rebuild his deck and claims the dude used the wrong nails and all the deck rusted. Now the defendant says, yeah, he used the wrong nails, but said he'd write the job and the plaintiff was just a jerk. It's the case of not decking a customer.
Thank you, Douglas. Okay, Mr. Korey?
Yes.
You are suing Mr. DeRoyan? Is that how I pronounce your name?
Yes, ma'am, DeRoyan.
From Correct the Deck. You're the owner?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, for $3,073, and you say you are still out as a result of what you call his shoddy workmanship, correct?
Yes,
Tell
Your
me what
Honor.
happened.
Okay, well, a couple months ago, I decided to redo my deck. This is Ken Murphy, my contractor now. Ken was going to build my deck, but he had other jobs previously that he had before mine, and I bumped into John, who I know is an acquaintance from the past, in Lowe's, and I told John that I was having a deck built, and he had a shirt on saying "Correct the Deck," and that was his business. So
Now, were you replacing a deck, or you were actually building from scratch?
ripping up a deck, a 2,300 square foot deck, and
putting in a
replacing it with another deck, exactly.
2,300 square foot deck?
Yeah, 2,300
Okay.
square feet.
All right, so you talked to him there, you decide to employ him, and do you write a written contract?
Yes, we did.
May I see it?
Yes.
And so you enter into an agreement that you're going to pay him how much for the deck?
$12,000, Your Honor.
Okay, so you're going to pay him $12,000, and then at the inception, at some point close to the inception, you pay out. The total amount you've paid out is $4,700, correct?
Right.
That's correct, right?
42.
Why is there a $500 discrepancy? Go ahead and tell me what you.
Okay, as he was doing the job, I gave him 2 checks, and then out on the deck, I said, I know he was having trouble paying employees, and I gave him a $500 cash advance. I was out on the deck, and I handed him $500, and I said, just take care of it. And,
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
Why don't you get a receipt for the $500?
Good
question.
Stupid.
All right. In any event, he starts the work, and what happens?
John was not on the job. He was there maybe 1 or 2 mornings. He had nothing to do with the job whatsoever. He had other guys come rip up the deck, and as they ripped the deck up, they destroyed property of mine.
What did they destroy?
A couple of lampposts, which are like $1,000 cast iron lampposts.
They were $1,000 now?
No, not now, and I'm not billing for $1,000.
Okay. What, may I see the pictures of the lampposts
Yes.
they destroyed? So go ahead.
They broke a sprinkler line.
How do you know they did it?
Well, I went out there and you can see the light is broken.
Was there any other construction going on in your home at this time?
No, there's no construction.
All right, now.
Yes, there was, ma'am. He had landscapers there for 5 days. I will take responsibility for the light to remove them for the deck. They're very top heavy. We laid them on the lawn. The pressure laid them down the lawn alone. These things were out there for 10 or 12 years. It broke. The sprinkler pipe he's talking about.
Well, what does your contract say about who has
I
responsibility?
told him I'll fix it, no problem. We dug it up. I said I'll fix it, no problem.
So
I
you
told him
take
I'd fix the light, no
responsibility
problem.
for the
Yes.
sprinkler,
Yes,
and you
I
take
do.
responsibility for the lights.
Yes, I do.
Okay, now let's discuss. He isn't suing though for $1,200 a piece for the
Right,
lights. He's suing for $500, I guess, to get them fixed. All right, now let's discuss the actual deck.
Anyway, one day while the deck is going down, I go out there and I see the box of screws. All right, and I confront the contractor. By the way, this is the guy who's doing the work, not John.
May I see it?
Absolutely.
And who did you sub it?
No, man, he worked for me for 2 years. He's a friend of mine. He started doing small work on his side.
So you
we
subbed
got-
it. All right. So now, go ahead.
Okay,
So you-
anyway, now I see this box of nails on the deck. You want me to read to you what it says, or would you like to,
I'd like to see it for myself.
Absolutely.
And, ma'am, he was only one of 5 guys that were there. He's the only one that brought his own truck, and I had other guys there that all worked for me.
Should not be used in treated lumber. Should not be used where surface rust is unacceptable. Well, that's not good.
Plus, I know I'm not even in
So what do you tell the guy?
I say, stop what you're doing right now. All right? I says, get John over here. And at the same time, I called the police because I knew that if John was there and I was there was going to be a situation.
Why?
Because of his history.
His
and-
history?
Yeah.
And what is his history that you say?
If he wants to discuss it, he can.
Okay.
I
What is he
respect
talking
respect
about?
him that I would like.
You know what? I've had problems, trouble in the past when I was younger, if that's what he's referring
Fights,
to.
though?
Yeah, fights. I had, some
So
issues.
you call the police and what happens? And no, either you say it or you don't, but you don't whisper to me.
Jail.
Okay, go ahead.
Nelson Mandela was in jail. Doesn't mean he's a bad guy.
He used the Mandela card. Classic. The testimony continues.
Okay.
And if you said,
Exactly like a waffle.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Go ahead.
And these are called galvanized redheads. These are the only thing you're supposed to be putting in pressure
I've been
treated.
called that funny.
These guys got into a huge thing over a deck. Seems the defendant used the wrong nails, but it turned into a major confrontation, and the defendant just said, yeah, he's been to jail, then compared himself to Nelson Mandela. Let's listen.
So we're waiting like 2 hours for John to show up, me and the Freehold police, and John walks up the driveway with a box of nails, and they're the right nails. So I says, what's the story? Well, we ran out of nails this morning, that's why we started using the wrong ones. I said, John, that's impossible. The nails for indoor use have a waffle pattern on the top. Every single nail out here has the waffle pattern. Look at the rusty nail.
Okay.
If you look, there's like little.
May I see one that's not rusted, and maybe I'll see what you're talking about?
Probably the best thing is to look through here. Just
Yeah,
watch
give
these
it
nails
down.
are still up. And it has the picture of how it was attached.
Okay.
And if you see,
Exactly like a waffle.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Go ahead.
and these
Okay.
are called galvanized redheads. These are the only thing you're supposed to be putting in pressure
I've been
treated.
called that quite a few times. Go ahead. Galvanized redheads. Let's see. And these are what?
Galvanized redheads.
Okay,
they
but
were
what-
actually designed for pressure-treated ACQ wood, which carries an acid in it. That's why, if you look,
The wood carries an acid.
right,
An
these
acid.
start rusting as fast as they do. Now, this is only like 3 weeks old.
All right. So what the heck was going on? What happened?
All right, the bottom line is, that he had called me on a Saturday, he was, going crazy about the nails we started decking on, I want to say, Thursday, about that point. When he called me about the nails, about an hour earlier, one of my guys that working for me called and said, we'd ran out of nails. I said, do you have any nails? He said, yeah. I said, I'll go grab another box
But
of
why
nails.
was your guy using the wrong nails? Just because he figured, what the heck? He's never going to find out? Homeowner's never going to know? Come on.
No, not at all, man.
So
When you
why?
go-
Because he's incompetent?
It was a mistake. I'm not disputing the
How
nails
many
being
nails
wrong.
had gone in that
Half
were
the
wrong?
deck that was down.
Half
All
deck.
the nails were wrong.
So what do you say?
I said, Brad, I said, we're going to have to pull every board and pull the nails. I'll replace them with screws. This is a Saturday afternoon. So that's where we had left off. He was right, I was wrong. The nails were wrong. I'm not
Got it,
disputing
got
it.
it.
So Sunday morning, about 8:30 in the morning, when I get there, here's saws. So what happens is he brings his, I call him the deck genius because
The
he's...
deck genius?
Yeah, the deck genius. So what happens
I think
is...
you're being, but that's not actually your company
Well,
name.
no, he's-
Okay,
Yeah,
that
being
was sarcasm. I recognize it. Go ahead.
So at that point, I guess I'm off the job is basically what it comes down to. Now I have my...
Well, what do you say to each other?
Well, he just says he doesn't want me to go any further. This isn't right, that's not right. You did a switcheroo on
Okay,
the wood.
what
and-
else did you think was wrong?
I spoke to Ken about, first of all, if he could just show you some
Go ahead.
things, please.
Well, he used what they call a lag screw. And in New Jersey, the state law requires for you to use a carriage bolt. It's a through bolt. They call it a through bolt. It actually goes in.
The nails holding the post
Just
up.
hold on, because I'm going to need, you're either going to have to come up here or I'm going to go down there.
Okay.
You have a lot of toys here, so I'm just going to come up here.
Okay,
What
good.
is this? The way
That
yours-
is a lag screw.
Okay, that's
See,
what
that-
he used.
Right. Now, that's supposed to hold up a 7-foot wall.
Okay,
Okay.
and,
now,
and you can't use that.
right. Now,
Instead, you have to
It's
use,
called a through bolt, a carriage bolt. Now, they go straight through, and one gets bolted on the top, one gets bolted on the bottom.
well, doesn't this get bolted on the other side?
Nope.
What happens?
It
That
only
just
goes
through?
halfway through.
The posts were temporarily tacked in place so we could deck. We never got to the railings. He's jumping 10 steps advance and saying things weren't done. We never even got to those steps.
This was holding a post right here.
This is the post
There's a
that
picture
was
of it.
actually here. See, that's how that was.
So you ripped this out, and you're showing this to me to show me that they use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7
Plus,
waffle nails to hold it to a post as opposed to something else. And what say you about that?
What's going on here basically is the posts were temporarily tacked in place so we could continue
Temporarily
decking.
taken in place by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
I
7
don't know.
nails?
This
Why
is-
wouldn't they just do it the right way?
This could have been a brace on the inside. We didn't get to the railings yet. We had yet to get to the railings. All we did was start decking. We still had yet to attend to the posts, the railings.
Okay, why
They
did your
were-
guys put those nails in at all? Instead of putting the thing you're supposed to put, which is this,
carriage bolts.
what are they called again?
Carriage bolts.
Carriage bolts. Why wouldn't your guys put that in from the beginning?
To hold the post in place so we could deck around the post.
Well, why don't you just, what's the answer to why you don't use this from the beginning?
We do use that. We use it at the end. We go around, we pre-drill. When we get to the railings,
So
we
you
go
were
around
never
with a
going to
drill.
put this then?
That's getting put in. There's only
If
one.
you're going to put it
Yes,
in later,
is.
why don't you put it in now?
Because you do it from the outside. You do it from the outside.
And your answer to that?
The main situation here is the fact that he did use those nails, and afterwards that wood was useless. I was concerned because I spent all this money, and I said to Ken, is there any way we could reuse this wood? And he explained that we couldn't because it was littered with holes. And when we put it down again, it's not going to lay in the right spots. Screws wouldn't hold it. The wood was completely useless, and the only way to get it up was to saw it up.
Who's gonna get hammered? Will the plaintiff get more than $3 grand? Judge Milian rules next. So, does this plaintiff have a duty to give the defendant a chance to come back and fix the job?
I really don't think he does.
Why?
Well, he did the job the wrong way the first time. Who says he's not going to mess it up again?
That's true, but do you have to give somebody a chance to fix the mistakes they made?
No, they don't.
Why?
He's going to do it again.
But you don't necessarily know that.
Well, it seems pretty obvious. He messed it up the first time. He's probably going to mess it up again.
Okay, going inside the courtroom.
How much did you pay him to rip up stuff?
He gave me $400, Your Honor, in cash.
You took the wood that was remaining on your site and you brought it back to Lowe's and you got a credit.
Right.
He gave me $2,700, the material was $45. If he didn't want me to finish, let me get my stuff and get it out of there. The wood he had him rip up and cut up was never paid for. I would have took my wood up. He says it can't be used, I say it can be used.
Now, I hear what you're saying. Look, all that other lumber that was there is lumber I could have reused, so how dare they throw it out without giving me a chance to take... Don't interrupt me again. To take the lumber, okay? Plus, he took all the other lumber that was on site, which you paid for, and took it back to Lowe's and got a $3,000-something credit for that, all right? So what he's suing you for is the excess.
But we also ripped up the deck. You know, we ripped up the deck, we pulled the nails, we loaded the dumpster.
Well, that's true, and then you had to pay somebody to rip up half a deck.
Man, that piece of wood with nails, there's no other nails anywhere around.
If you were to get back every penny you paid him, plus get back from him the money you paid him, you'd get a free deck rip up.
No, I had to pay him extra because it's harder to pull a deck out the way it was put down, and it was just a mess. Listen.
Yeah. Good try.
Ma'am, can I say something about that piece of wood with the 8 nails?
Yeah.
That piece of wood has 8 nails, and notice there's no other nails anywhere else. So what was that even nailed to? That wasn't something we did. We didn't use that piece of wood.
You don't know that.
He says I wasn't there.
Can I show the video?
It's a picture they took.
actually-
What have you got on
He's
there?
lied 3 or 4
can I approach
times
the
here.
bench?
Come on over here.
He actually has the video of me pulling things
Come here,
apart.
come here, come here.
You gotta listen to that carefully. The volume's kind of low.
We're just showing the shoddy work
that was done by...
Okay, I want you to go back over there, and I want you to come.
Right back on that corner there, sir.
Okay.
All right, we use these nails on the whole deck, which are made for indoor use. They'll rust and they'll disintegrate. Now, we ripped up all the deck because he put all the wrong screws in the deck, but there's some left, so...
Go ahead and go back to the podium. The problem you have is that you weren't the guy doing it. Some other guys were the guys doing it. Thank you.
Ma'am, that's what he says, and that's not true.
No,
I
that's
was
not what
there.
he says. That's what I say. Now, you have, of the $4,700, you're able to prove $4,200 that you paid to him. For the sprinkler line, I don't think you can get anybody out there to fix it for less than $100. I'm going to award you $250 for these lights. The next question is, what is that total? $4,550. From that figure, you have already received $3,027 back from Lowe's. And that would mean that on your lawsuit against him, I find in your favor in the amount of $1,523. I am not going to award you the amount for the labor and deck removal because you are already getting back, in my math, his labor and deck removal. Whatever portion of it was his labor and deck removal. Now, you have a counterclaim against him for $1,800. That is the balance owed on materials, meaning that you bought that much worth of wood and that he ended up taking it. But you're already getting a credit for the wood in the amount he's suing you for, because I am taking that out of the math. You understand that, right? So that your counterclaim based on materials is already being taken into account there. Therefore, I find a net judgment in this case in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of $1,523.
The plaintiff gets nowhere near what he started suing for, and the defendant does get credit for the return wood. What's your reaction to the
I
entire
think he
outcome?
did a little lying in there, and they showed some pictures that weren't really accurate. We do a nice job, and we would have did a nice job, So sometimes the pictures don't always tell the story.
Are you in there fighting for monetary reasons, or are you fighting for your reputation in there?
Well, it's a little bit of both. We go there to do a nice job. I don't want to make an unhappy customer. In the meantime, we work hard. And you just stretch the truth on a few things. I have a good company. We've been in business 10 years. I've never had a problem with a customer. This is the first time. And there was a lot of things that, went on in the courtroom that didn't accurately depict what was actually going on the job.
Okay, fair enough. Right down the hallway there, documents wait for you. All right, come on in here and tell me what's your feeling on your side of things. Face this way.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Basically, I'm not really happy with the ruling. Her math was wrong. I don't think she looked at it properly, but it is what it is.
You're saying that because you didn't get everything you sued for?
Exactly. She credited him for material that he damaged and was useless.
Mm-hmm. So how did the job finally come out? Is it done
It's
yet?
going on now. It's coming out great, and all bad things lead to something good. And Ken's
The
great.
deck genius.
Yeah, well, he is a genius. I'll tell you, he really is.
I've been
See it
doing
now.
this for 25 years, and that's why I'm licensed and that's
Way
why
to
you
go.
need to be licensed and insured.
Harvey?
to have it.
So here's the thing. The plaintiff lost confidence in the defendant because of the defendant's workers. And when you lose confidence, and a reasonable person would do that, lose confidence, you don't have to invite them back, and you can try to get your money back. And that will do it for this case. The litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.
This is the plaintiff, Ray Rodriguez. He says he was sitting in his apartment one day when all of a sudden he heard a loud crunch outside. Turns out the defendant's company truck hit his car and then just took off. The guy denied hitting anything, even though he has an eyewitness and a rock-solid case. So he's suing for the $3,212.04 he has in damages. This is the defendant, Anthony Ragnall. He says his driver's been with him for 20 years, and when he says he didn't hit any car, he believes him, gosh darn it. Besides, there was no damage to their truck, no paint on the bumper, and he refuses to pay for something his man didn't do. He's accused of taking a worker's word for it.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
That's so bizarre. Like, who does that? Who hears a loud crash right close to their car but figure that if they cover the sun with the finger, the sun isn't there? Okay.
That was me.